Thank you. Even though if it weren't recorded, every spiritual bit is recording it forever in our heart, in our consciousness. So that's also recording. Hare Krishnas. Okay, so I was told the next verse is in the second canto, chapter 10, text 19. Today is 25th September 2021. So canto 2, chapter 10, text 19. The chapter 10 is called Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nasta praeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So we are reading from Canto 2, chapter 10, text 19. Vivakshoho
Vivaksho
mukataha
Mukata
bhumnaha
Bhumna
vahni
Vani
vak
Vak
vyahritam
Yaritam
tayo
Tayo
jale
Dale
cha
Cha
etasya
Tasya
suchiram
Suchiram
nirodha
Yoda
samajayata
Samajayata
vivakshor mukato bhumno
Vivaksho Mukato Bhumno
vahnirva vyahritam tayo
Vagnyo Vagyaritam Tayoho
jale chaitasya suchiram
Dalit Shatasya Suchiram
nirodha samajayata
Yoda Samajayata
vivakshor mukato bhumno
Vivaksho Mukato Bhumno
vahnirva vyahritam tayo
Vagnyo Vagyaritam Tayo
jale chaitasya suchiram
Dalit Chaitasya Suchiram
nirodha samajayata.
Yoda Samajayata Vivaksho Mukato Bhumno
Vivakshor mukato bhumno
Vagnyo Vagyaritam Tayo
vahnirva vyahritam tayo
Dalit Chaitasya Suchiram
jale chaitasya suchiram
Nirodha Samajayata
nirodha samajayata. Okay. Vivakshoho.
Vivaksho.
When there is a need to speak.
When there is a need to speak.
Mukataha.
Mukata.
From the mouth.
From the mouth.
Bhumna.
Na.
Of the Supreme.
Of the Supreme.
Vahni.
Vani.
Fire or the controlling deity of fire.
Fire or the controlling deity of fire.
Vak.
Vak.
Vibration.
Vibration.
Vyahritam.
Yaritam.
Speeches.
Speeches.
Tayo.
Tayo.
By both.
By both.
Jale.
Jali.
In the water.
In the water.
Cha.
Cha.
However.
However.
Etasya.
et tasya,
of all these,
of all this,
suchiram,
tuchiram,
a very, very long time,
a very, very long time,
nirodha,
nirodha,
suspension,
suspension,
samajayata,
samajayata,
did continue.
did continue.
Okay, we are reading Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 19. Chapter 10, Text 19. Translation. When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The peculiarity of the gradual development of the different senses is simultaneously supported by their controlling deities. It is to be understood, therefore, that the activities of the sense organs are controlled by the will of the Supreme. The senses are, so to speak, offering a license for the conditioned souls who are to use them properly under the control of the controlling deity deputed by the Supreme Lord. One who violates such controlling regulations has to be punished by degradation to a lower status of life. Consider, for example, the tongue and its controlling deity Varuna. The tongue is meant for eating, and men, animals, and birds each have their different tastes because of different licenses. The taste of a human beings and that of the swine are not on the same level. The controlling deity, however, awards or certifies a particular type of body. When the particular living entity develops a taste in terms of different modes of nature. If the human being develops taste without discrimination, as does the swine, then the controlling deity is certainly certified for the next term to award him the body of a swine. The swine accepts any kind of foodstuff, including stools, and a human being who has developed such indiscriminate taste must be prepared for a degraded life in the next life. Such a life is also God's grace because the conditioned soul desired a body like that for perfectly tasting a particular type of foodstuff. If a man gets the body of a swine, it must be considered the grace of the Lord because the Lord awards the facility. After death, the next body is offered by superior control, not blindly. A human being, therefore, must be on his guard as to what sort of body he is going to have in the next life. An irresponsible life of indiscrimination is risky, and that is the declaration of all scriptures. Om Ainana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing this text on the creation of the universe, creation of the senses. Here with me is Mother Malini, Mother Damayanti, Gajendra Prabhu, and Kim, Bhaktin Kim. Okay, so people think various things about control, like often more intelligent people want to control more, like with increased intelligence, like the sense of controlling things increases. Maybe because we get like a sense that we can change the result, and like I can see like we have some experience of that, but it's not the complete truth that I can control anything I want, that I can create any result I want. But the more material intelligence, the more one can make distinctions. The propensity to control is there. The most intelligent person is Lord Brahma in the universe, in the material universe. So he is in control of the universe. Yeah, like I have still the habit, when I look at which verse I should read, I'm trying to control, like I look at the words of the Sanskrit, whether there is some difficult word for me to pronounce. And I was like, ooh, I was relieved, because there are words starting with V, Vivakshor and Vahnir, and these are really easy for me to say, regardless of my condition, almost. So we can observe our propensity to control. And when one is kind of more advanced, maybe he went through some, I don't know, transformative seminar experience. There are many of these in the world. Maybe he realizes that nothing is in control. That's like, oh, nothing is in control. Like a friend of mine shared a image on Facebook, and that was written, relax, nothing is in control. But that's not the real truth either, because it seems that we can control something. I can lift the what's that? The jug, the glass, and drink, right? I can do it. It seems like, and here in the Srimad Bhagavatam we get the full explanation. So the jiva, the spirit soul, that's us, we desire, and if we have a suitable body, we get to do the thing we want to do. So if I desire to lift the bottle, and I have the body, through the agency of demigods, the body does the motion. The body does the motion. It's not really about me lifting the bottle. It's like the body does the motion. And it's not even that I desire independently, because not even our desire is independent. Our desires are often driven by the three modes of the material nature, really our past association, because yeah, like how do I come to the things I desire? It's like, okay, like if I look in the past, like I wanted to go to university. Why? It wasn't an independent desire. It was like influenced by my parents, by my friends, by all those things, all those inputs that I was associating with. And then I'm thinking that I'm like choosing to go to the university, but not really. Like there is high chance if others in my friendhood, neighborhood go to the university, I will also want to go to the university. But still, we have a small choice, small amount of independence, because we are part of the big Svarat, part of Krishna. So there is still something we can do. We are not totally powerless. We are not machines So yes, so let's talk about the demigods a little bit more, and then I want to talk about habits. Let's talk about demigods and then something about maybe more practical. So so the demigods, like here we read about the fire. So the supreme desire to speak, and when the supreme desire to speak, the speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. So the fire and the controlling deity of fire is generated from the mouth. Vahni, it's fire. Yeah, like I'm recalling the fire sacrifice, like in the Vaishnava Gaudiya Madhva Parampara, we sometimes do the fire sacrifice, mainly for the formal initiation and weddings, but it can be used for more purposes. Like I saw the recent Nrsimha appearance day, and they did also fire sacrifice, and we call swaha when we offer grains to the fire, and swaha is the wife of the Lord of Fire. So we go through the wife, because as in the material world, we can maybe understand a little bit. Like if I want to go to a very powerful man, it might be useful to be friends with his wife, and maybe I can go more easily through his wife. So that's the deity of fire, and the purpose of the fire sacrifice is not really to worship the god of fire. It's not the end of the fire sacrifice. It's to worship Vishnu, because the god of fire, he acts as a tongue of Vishnu. So the goal of the sacrifice is Vishnu, it's Krishna, and that's why it's part of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, because Vaishnavas worship Vishnu. It's in the name. Yes, and in a similar way, we can also worship other demigods who are pure devotees of Vishnu, but we do not worship them as demigods, as gods. We worship them as they are representatives of Vishnu, of Krishna. So, and some examples we can read or hear in Brahma Samhita. For example, Lord Shiva is appreciated in Brahma Samhita. I don't have it here, so I need to recall, but it will be Shiram Yathada Devikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Nahitatak Pratak Asti Heto Yang Shambhutam Apitata Sam Upaiti Karyat Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And Lord Brahma says, just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect of curd is neither the same nor different from the cause, that's milk. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the taste of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. Shambhu means Shiva. So we can worship the demigod as a part and parcel, as a magnificent being, part and parcel of Vishnu. So really, we worship Vishnu through the demigod. It's a similar. It's the same principle as worshiping pure devotee, because these demigods are pure devotees, and that's the real requirement, that the worshipped person is a pure devotee. Because if he is not, then it's better to worship the pure devotee. And yeah, let's read one more from Brahma Samhita. I'll just read the translation. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds. So one who wants to get rich, he worships Ganesh, and one who wants to get really rich, the rich that does not falter, he acknowledges Ganesh as a pure devotee of the Lord, as a devotee of the Lord, and worships the Lord like that. So that's the demigod worship. So if you at some point happen yourself to be in a Shiva temple, don't fear. You can still worship Lord Shiva as a pure devotee, as a best Vaishnava Namyata Shambhu. Yes, and because everything is connected with the Lord, especially his pure devotees. So that was the part about demigods. And yeah, let's discuss the building the taste, because Prabhupada's purport, it's like okay, so we get to have this human form of body, and we have a set of senses. We have 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. For example, hands are the working senses, and eyes are the knowledge acquiring senses, or ears are also knowledge acquiring senses. So, and in the human, in each form, there is a set of senses, and with those senses are connected different licenses for enjoyment. So, for example, yes, the human form of senses are meant for engagement in activities that are considered appropriate to the human form of life. So this is for self-realization. That's the human form is meant for controlling the senses and for self-realization. Compared to that, the swine has also a set of senses, and the senses are formed and meant for animal activities, finding various indiscriminate foodstuffs. Yes. So our responsibility is to develop an appropriate taste that's relevant for the human form of life. Because if we start to develop a different form of taste, like that of animals, we will be degraded in the animal form of life, because we desire something and Krishna provides. Karmana daiva netrena, Prabhupada is writing in the purport. The body is offered by superior control and not blindly. So as we develop our habits, as we form our heart throughout our life, that in the next life we get body according to the consciousness at the time of death. So that goes into habits. So I've printed some quotes from Prabhupada, what Prabhupada says about habits, and sometimes we hear that habits are our second nature. So here Prabhupada it's from a class and Prabhupada is speaking. Here is a story how habit is the second nature. There was a thief and he went to pilgrimage with some other friends. So at night, when other friends were sleeping, because his habit was to steal at night, he got up at night and he was taking one body's baggage and tried to pickpocket or take something. But he was thinking, oh, I have come to this holy place of pilgrimage. Still, shall I do that, committing theft, my habit? No, no, I shall not do it. So he was taking the bag of one person and was keeping in another place. So in the whole night, the poor fellow did like that. But due to his conscience that I have come to this holy place, at least during my stay here, I shall not do this stealing business. So in the morning, when all other friends got up, everyone said, oh, where is my bag? I don't see. Another man says, I don't see my bag. Then somebody says, oh, here is your bag. So there was some row. So they thought, what is the matter? How it so happened? Then the thief rose up and told all friends, my dear gentlemen, I am a thief by occupation, but because I have that habit to steal at night, so I wanted to steal something from your bag, but I thought that I have come to this holy place, I shall not do it. So I might have placed one man's bag in another man's place. So excuse me. So he was just mixing the bags, but he wasn't stealing. So this is the habit. This is the habit he does not want. He does not want to commit theft, but he has got the habit of doing that. So similarly, here he has decided not to commit theft anymore, but because he's habituated, sometimes he does. So yeah, it's like we are coming to Srila Prabhupada and we are habituated to so many sinful things, namely gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, and the drinking. And we have a chance to see our habits, and we can, to the extent we are capable, we can work on reducing them, because we are coming to this holy place of pilgrimage to the lotus feet of Prabhupada. And we have essentially two facilities of the spirit soul. We can connect with the consciousness that I will not do it. So as the thief was kind of fighting with himself, I will not do it. I will not be stealing from the bag because I'm in this holy place. It meant something for him. So he was able throughout the night to control his propensity to steal. But that's not all we can really do, because there is a second choice that we get to make. If I choose that I will not do this, I still have to choose what I will do. So that's sankalpa and vikalpa. Vikalpa is I will not do it, but sankalpa is the positive engagement, is I will do this. And if we connect these two, okay, I will chant Hare Krishna. At the same time, I will not drink, let's say. Then it's easier to give up the old habit because I have the positive engagement. So that's the principle of the higher taste, and we will go to the higher taste later, a little bit. I will finish what Prabhupada said in this class. Prabhupada says, so therefore, Krishna says, in that condition, one who has decided to stop all bad or immoral habits and just to make his progress in Krishna consciousness, even by chance, if he does something which is immoral in the face of the society, that should not be taken account of. Of course, this is by chance. And in the next verse, you will find Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma, because he has dovetailed himself in Krishna consciousness, it is sure that he will become saintly. I mean to say, a pure saint very soon, very soon. The example is just like the electric fan is going on, and if you put off the switch of the fan, you will see the fan is still going on, but that going on will stop because the switch is already off. Similarly, if one dovetails himself in Krishna consciousness, then automatically he will become a saintly person, automatically, because his switch is made off, just like the fan. When the switch is made off, the current supply is stopped. Now, there was a force of running. You may see that it is running for a few minutes, but it will stop. Similarly, anyone, it doesn't matter what he is, if he puts himself, dovetails himself in Krishna consciousness, then all his material contamination will be washed off. Yeah, and pulling the plug is giving up the sinful habits, mainly meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. And the more we do it, it's not all or nothing, but if we do it, we'll pull out the plug, and we will have a chance that the fan will stop spinning, and we stop the sinful activities, and actually create space for steadily engaging in Krishna consciousness. Yes. Yeah, like there is a story in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 6th canto, surprise, surprise, comes after the 5th canto. And in 5th canto, the description of hellish planets is there. And Maharaj Parikshit asks Shukadev Goswami, okay, like I've heard about these horrible places of the hellish planet, so what should the people of the world do to not to end up at such hellish places? Parikshit Maharaj, he wasn't asking for himself, but his concern was the welfare of humanity, welfare of the civilization. And Parikshit Maharaj says in the 6th canto, "O greatly fortunate and opulent Shukadev Goswami, now kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pains." Shukadev Goswami replied, "My dear king, if before one's next death, whatever impious acts one has performed in this life, with his mind, words, and body are not counteracted through proper atonement, according to the description of the Manu Samhita and other Dharma Shastras, one will certainly enter the hellish planets after death and undergo terrible sufferings, as I have previously described to you. So Shukadev Goswami is advising Parikshit Maharaj that for each sin one commits, he should try to counteract such a sin with proper atonement. And he continues, therefore, before one's next death comes, as long as one's body is strong enough, one should quickly adopt the process of atonement according to Shastra. Otherwise, one's time will be lost, and the reactions of his sins will increase. As an expert physician diagnoses and treats a disease accordingly to its gravity, one should undergo atonement according to the severity of one's sins. So we can imagine the atonement is something like taking appropriate medicine. So if I have a cold, I take appropriate medicine. If I have different disease, maybe more serious one, I will need to go through a more serious treatment. But Maharaj Parikshit replied, one may know that sinful activity is injurious for him because he actually sees that a criminal is punished by the government and rebuked by people in general, and because he hears from scriptures and learned scholars that one is thrown into hellish conditions in the next life for committing sinful acts. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, one is forced to commit sins again and again, even after performing acts of atonement. Therefore, what is the value of such atonement? Parikshit Maharaj is smart, he's intelligent, because he takes the discussion to a different level. Because why would anyone commit a sinful act if he knows the act is sinful, that if he knows that he will suffer in the next life? Sorry? Huh? Sorry, my wife wants to drive a car.
Hare Krishna.
It's my car.
It's his car. All cars are his. And the house too.
I have 2 cars and 1 house. Great. But recently I was through a suffering because the car was broken and we had no running water in the house at the same time. So there is always some fun with material possessions. Okay. So Parikshit Maharaj is very intelligent and he's taking the discussion to a different level because, okay, like why would anyone want to commit a sinful act if he knows it's sinful, if he knows he will be suffering? And Parikshit Maharaj continues, sometimes one who is very alert so as not to commit sinful acts is victimized by sinful life again. Therefore, consider this process of repeated sinning and atoning to be useless. I consider to be useless. It is like the bathing of an elephant, for an elephant cleanses itself by taking a full bath, but then throws dust over its head and body as soon as it returns to the land. Yeah, like we can do something, then say, I'm sorry, and then do a different thing and then again say, I'm sorry. Like in the Vedic literature, there is like a whole process, scientific appropriate process of the medicine. But in this age, we just say, I'm sorry. So, yeah, that's not the appropriate process of atonement. So, Parikshit Maharaj wanted to know something better than this repeated process of sinning and saying sorry. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vedavyas, answered, my dear king, since acts meant to neutralize impious actions are also fruitive, they will not release one from the tendency to act fruitively. Persons who subject themselves to the rules and the regulations of atonement are not at all intelligent. Indeed, they are in the mode of darkness. Unless one is freed from the mode of ignorance, trying to counteract one action through another is useless because this will not uproot one's desires. Thus, even though one may superficially seem pious, he will undoubtedly be prone to act impiously. Therefore, real atonement is enlightenment in perfect knowledge, Vedanta, by which one understands the supreme absolute truth. So Shukadev Goswami is actually saying, okay, that what I was proposing is in the mode of darkness, is in the mode of ignorance. And I'm proposing something better. And the better thing is enlightenment in perfect knowledge, study of Vedanta, finding Brahman. Shukadev Goswami continues, my dear king, if a diseased person eats the pure, uncontaminated food prescribed by a physician, he is gradually cured and the infection of disease can no longer touch him. Similarly, if one follows the regulative principles of knowledge, he gradually progresses toward liberation from material contamination. To concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo the austerity of giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean and non-violent, follow the regulative principles and regularly chant the holy name of the Lord. Thus, a sober and faithful person who knows the religious principles is temporarily purified of all sins performed with his body, words, and mind. These sins are like the dried leaves of creepers beneath a bamboo tree, which may be burned by fire, although the roots remain to grow again at the first opportunity. Yes, so if we mitigate a sin, it's like cutting a bamboo tree, so we get rid of the bamboo that's above the surface, but there are seeds in the ground and there are roots of the bamboo in the ground, and then the bamboo will grow again. So that's not a long-term solution. And what is the long-term solution? Shukadev Goswami says, Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agam dunvanti karshneya niharam iva bhaskaraha. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog but by its rays. So that's the recommended process, to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. And then uprooting the sinful actions is as easy as the sun dissipates the fog by its rays, because if I have a different kind of idea to get rid of the fog, I don't know how to like move my hands to like mitigate the fog, and it will not be very productive. But if the sun is there, then the fog can be gone once and for all. So that's the higher taste principle that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam by the discussion between Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Yes. So I have still a little bit of time. Okay. So the next thing I want to read, it's a dialogue between Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, and Lieutenant Mosey, and it's from 1975, and I think it on the way to Boston by plane, Prabhupada read, I think, something about the crime, not to Boston, but to Chicago. So on the way to Chicago, Prabhupada read in some news, in some journal, newspaper, about the high levels of crime there. So Prabhupada suggested that he will come to solve the high crime rate in there. So he got to discuss it with the Lieutenant Mosey. And the Lieutenant Mosey asks, what you say, that it should be done in an area of affluence or an area of poverty to begin with? So Prabhupada was apparently suggesting that they start the center, start the program there. Prabhupada replies, no, we have no distinction such, but a place which is easily available for all kinds of men. That is very nice. There is no such condition that the only poor men will take benefit and the rich men, they do not require. Everyone requires. Do you think that the criminality is only in the poorer section? Lieutenant Mosey. Oh no, Prabhupada. Then everyone is criminal. Either he is a poor man or a rich man. So we should not make such distinction, that only it is meant for the poor man. Lieutenant Mosey. No, the distinction I was attempting to draw was, would there be more benefit? Would there be more of an influence? Or would there be more of a strengthening if it were in an area of affluence rather than an area of poverty, or vice versa? Prabhupada. No, that's our treatment is for the diseased person. So diseased person does not make any distinction of poor and rich man. Rich man is also diseased and poor man is also diseased. And everyone should be admitted in the hospital. So hospitals should be in such a place where the poor man and rich man, both of them can come, because all of them are diseased. So when one comes to the hospital, there is no such thing as a poor man's hospital or a rich man's. Hospital is hospital. And everyone being diseased, everyone should take advantage. But the difficulty is, as we are quoting the passage, that rich man, he thinks that he is not diseased. That's our biggest disease, right? That we think that we are not diseased. So Prabhupada continues. Although he is diseased, number one, but he thinks that he is not diseased. That is the difficulty of the rich man. But we are thinking everyone is diseased. And you know better than me, being police. There are criminality among rich men and poor men alike. So it's like similar to the discussion of Maharaj Parikshit with Shukadev Goswami, like Maharaj Parikshit wanted to hear something better, not just to move on the material platform, do this because it's better, because you will have more fun, enjoyment, happiness, riches, things. He wanted something that he will solve the whole problem of happiness and distress. So here Prabhupada is also, let's solve the problem of repeated birth and death, and not really try to work out who is rich and who is poor. So Prabhupada. So our process is to cleanse the heart, not the opulence or poverty. No, that is not to cleanse the heart. If the poor man is cleansed in his heart, he will not touch anybody's property. I heard that king, Edward VII, his habit was to steal. So even if a man is rich, that does not mean that he will not steal, because probably the problem at that time in Chicago was that poor people were known to be thieves. But Prabhupada says, no, it's everyone is a thief in this world. Okay. And I will skip part, and Lieutenant Mosey replies, "It's a very difficult task, sir." And Prabhupada replies, "It is not difficult. It's very simple task. To ask them, please come here, chant Hare Krishna, dance, and take sumptuously prasadam and go home. Where is the difficulty?" So that's a nice point, right? If an intelligent person wants to appear, well, if a person wants to appear intelligent, he can always say, "Oh, that's a very difficult task," because the other person will think, "Oh, he's thinking about so many complexities behind the problem, and the topic was very complex, difficult." Yeah. But Prabhupada said, it's not difficult. Just do this program, chant Hare Krishna, dance, take prasadam, and go home. And do that same thing at home. So it's not difficult. So if we engage ourselves in the activities of Krishna consciousness, if we will be cultivating the habits connected with Krishna consciousness, like rising early in the morning, chanting, singing, Samsara Davanala, and so on, chanting Hare Krishna on our beats, then we don't really need to cultivate any other habits, because we could divide our life into so many topics, and we could cultivate financial habits, our habits that we do in our relationships, our habits regarding our health, our fitness, habits that we use with our friends, and so on. But in Krishna consciousness, we solve everything on a higher level. So everything below that is kind of resolved. Like I can make an example, like about the financial habits. So that's like I was asked by a devotee friend to like talk something about like how to manage finance, right? Because some devotees might struggle with finance, and it might like detract the consciousness, the focus from Krishna to like resolving financial issues. But if I look at it, like if one is a devotee, he has so much good things going on for him, even in the area of finance, because a rich person is not the one who needs the most, is the one who needs the least. So a devotee like does not need all those like material things that others are trying to get, like a swimming pool, like 2 cars, I don't know, big house. A devotee can end up with a swimming pool, 3 cars, and a house, but he does not need them. So if one is cultivating Krishna consciousness, he's also progressing in his financial habits, because the amount he needs gets less and less and less. And still, like, one can cultivate as a part of the process, like intelligence to make distinctions in financial choices, like what is smart to do, what's not that smart to do. If one is like distracted, if one is distracted by the lack of finance, and it really impedes his kind of steady progress onwards, then it makes sense to learn to make some distinction, maybe learn how much he earns, how much he gives up each month, to like get some sattva there. But if one is not disturbed in his Krishna consciousness, it does not really matter how finances are going on, because kind of everything is directed by Krishna. Okay, I will read the verse. So Canto, that's the wrong Bhagavatam. Oh, I've lost this thing. So Canto 2, chapter 10, text 19. Vivakshor mukato bhumno vagnir vag vyahrtam tayo jale chaitasya suchiram nirodha samajayata. When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. Hare Krishna, thank you very much for listening. And now there is space for, if you want to share, I will be happy. You can share, you can ask question, discuss anything that's on your heart.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. So how do we truly get rid of the seeds of sin, or like the roots? How do we really get rid of those?
Yes, thank you, Damayanti. Yeah, it's like my understanding and experience is like a gradual process. So really, like the more I chant, and the more I manage to abstain from things that distract my consciousness. The four main things, like illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, they distract the consciousness the most. So as I'm on the path, the more of the roots and the seeds are getting burned. It's like the fan is still spinning, but maybe to a large extent the plug is off the wall. So the progress is there, steady, and it requires, right, patience, enthusiasm, determination, those three things. Yes, if you have something specific on mind, maybe we can discuss that, but that's kind of the general answer to a general question.
I don't have a specific scenario, but that was helpful to hear patience, especially for me, because I'm really like aware, you know, I can just see all my flaws, and you know, it's just a lot to see and like hold space for like my true status. It's not very Krishna conscious and very conditioned, you know, right now. And so yeah, patience would be, I could use more of that.
Yes, yeah, like it's like that you want to be perfect now, like Prabhupada says, right? Be perfect, right? And process is simple. Do this, don't do that. Now you can become pure devotee right now. And you can, but for most of us, right, it's like a gradual thing. Yeah, like I also have like the strong propensity to like be so-called perfect, like try to be perfect, but it's like often based in shame. It's like I should be perfect, and that should create a pressure that I'm not meeting myself where I'm really at. So like I should chant 64 rounds, right? But that's nice. I should. At the same time, it will be more helpful to me. Okay, I'm chanting 16, so let me try to chant 17. Like one more, I can add a little bit, and there is like a, yeah, like if I really want it, then I can add a little bit. Maybe I don't even need to add one round. I can add one beat, one mantra. Like if I really want that, maybe I can spend like 9 seconds to chant the extra one mantra per day. Because if I don't want to chant even the one extra mantra, then probably I don't even want to chant the 64 rounds in the first place. So like I was doing some work recently, and like I was spending 3 minutes or 4 minutes per day. And I was like, okay, I can manage it. I did not want to do it, but I was like, okay, if I really want, if I'm really sincere that I want to like progress, I have 3 or 4 minutes extra. So yeah, step by step and small steps and patience and long term, it will changed a lot. Hare Krishna. Mother Malini?
Hare Krishna, dear Yogesvara Prabhu. I really like your class and where you went with it. The different places of the creation and then the demigods and then habits. And I really appreciated a lot of the points you made. I have a question, also have comments. I will start with the comments like, I'm really absorbed, as you know, in a pastime of Lord Chaitanya, the cleansing of the Kondicha temple. And in that, there is a lot of analogy with the cleansing of the heart. And we can see in that pastime that, like even the tendency to think, I need to do that work. I need to do that work. I need to clean all that dirt. That dirt shouldn't be there. And I need to, like, it's still a controlling tendency. It's still, like us not accepting, like, that's my subtle body. Like you say, we acquire according to our past activities and desire, we acquire a certain body. And that's also true for we acquire a certain subtle body. And our subtle body is going to be whatever it is. And to try to change it sometimes is like hitting a wall and in a way of wanting to change something that's not changeable or wanting to control something that's not under our control. So in that pastime, there is a clear sense that the one who gathers the most dirt and dust is Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is the one who has the biggest pile every time. Even so, there is hundreds and hundreds of devotees all working on cleansing the heart, the temple of the Kondicha temple. Still, all their dirt together doesn't add up to the dirt that Lord Chaitanya gathered. And from that, we can go back to like the Christian theology. The Christian theology, and I really like that in some ways, is that we cannot clean our heart. Only God can. And I spoke a lot with people who even like Christian that take the subject of seminars. They make a distinction between personal development and endeavoring for personal development and the cleansing of the heart. And they see the cleansing of the heart as grace, like it's Krishna, God, is going to take my greed, he's going to take my envy, he's going to take my anger, he's going to take all that away. I have no power to take it. So, and still they take personal development seminar. So it's like managing the balance there of accepting our subtle body as it is. Yeah, if we have the subtle body of a snake, just be a snake that worship Krishna. Just be a snake that completely, like Kaliya, he worship Krishna, and he's not changing his envious, bitter nature. He's taking his envious, bitter nature, and he offers beautiful prayer to Krishna. So that's an aspect I wanted to share. And then my question, connected with that comment and connected with that Damayanti's sharing, is that, okay, so the Lord desire And then because of that desire, then the power of speech comes. And then, you know, the deities of fire come, and the deity of fire becomes a controller of the power of speech, like that. And same thing with water and all that. So, and at the same time, there is so much injunction about controlling the senses. So in one hand, we are not in control of our senses because the demigods are. And in another hand, there is controlling the senses, is the path to freedom. In fact, I really like what you said, because the more intelligent people are, the more they want to control. And when their intelligence really develop, then all they want to control is their senses. And that brings to the yogis and impersonalists and all that, who do a lot of austerity and sacrifice because of their intelligence is very developed. So that's the balance there, like, okay, so we are learning. Bhagavatam is telling us, open your eyes. It's not you opening your eyes, it's demigods in charge of your eyelids. Okay, great. And control your senses. So how do you bring the two together?
Yes. Thanks for that sharing and the question. And yeah, like I like your sharing. Yes, like there is a balance between like trying to accommodate the subtle body or even the gross body, and the practice of Krishna consciousness. So like if I go to the personal development seminar, or I'm doing some work with the subtle body, it should be always with the goal to improve the devotional service. Like the devotional service is the goal. And like, because I will not be chanting Hare Krishna 24 hours per day, then it makes sense to like spend some time on the subtle material platform, or even the gross material platform, to create more sattvic space so that the Krishna conscious practice can grow. If I'm able to chant 24 hours, I don't need to care about this subtle and gross body. But I'm not on that level. Like, yes, and the question with the okay, like, yeah, it's written, okay, one should control his senses, and at the same time demigods are controlling the senses. So that can be like a victim a relationship with the mother nature. And yeah, like one principle, like the demigods are controlling the senses according to our desire. So we are like, the process is like transformation of our desire. So as our desire gets more pure, then the actions of the senses, it changes. And like the process given by Prabhupada, my understanding, it's of positive engagement of the senses. So, and it's not, we don't usually think about the senses, like about the hand or the leg. We like, if I want to worship Krishna, offering him flower. So my consciousness is, I want to offer flower to Krishna, and I naturally use the senses, or the demigods use like control the body according to my desire. And of course, this desire is influenced by my faith and association. So like, yeah, like it's like transcendence. Like we can strive for transcendence, but do not mistake it like for darkness, like victim consciousness, that everything is controlled. Because everything is controlled, that's truth, but it's not the complete truth. Like we need to move to a different level or dimension, because we are part and parcel of the supreme controller. So we have like bits bits of control, bits of free will, bits of independence. At the same time, we are always fully controlled. So it takes a little bit of like practice of intelligence or understanding, because it's neither of those, like I'm not in control or I'm in control, because I'm part and parcel of the Supreme Controller. So it's a different perspective, I would say. Hare Krishna.
Last night, well, Garuda just drove this morning to his mom's to spend the weekend with her, and she's really struggling with her subtle body, severe mental distress, mental emotional. So it's very severe, very concerning. I just had the thought, I'm like, you tell your mom that there's nothing wrong with her. I just had that come up, like when you like tell her that I feel that there's nothing wrong with her. Yes, she's in this body that's old, and the mind and emotions, everything is disturbing, but that's not her. And he's like, okay, he was busy and he couldn't really receive that. I'm like, just tell her I said that I feel there's nothing wrong with her, just because I wanted to give her some perspective. She's really suffering.
Mm.
Anyway, I didn't even know where that came from. I thought that was I think that maybe came from Paramatma or something. It was like, oh, that's nice. Anyway, she needs some encouragement with dealing with her vehicle, you know. That's all. I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, like you had this inspiration, and you are maybe not 100% sure if it was Paramatma or if it was your like neediness to control, to like solve the situation, to ease your pain of seeing her. Right. Yes, and like my understanding is like the more we get to be pure, the more we are able to help other people, even through like seemingly material advice. But yeah, like we are able to connect more with Paramatma, and it will not be longer about us, about our like need to look certain way, or our trying to avoid pain, distress, trying to like put everything into perfect place, but it will be more about truly helping others. Yeah, and you have like a good feeling about it, like, oh, that's an interesting idea. It might be from the Paramatma, and yeah, like you see that she would welcome like a help with the subtle body. All right, is there any other sharing, question, realization?
I'd like to say a little bit of something. So yeah, some things were said that I'm connecting to some things I've been thinking about recently. And near the beginning, you were giving the example of, you know, the person that had a propensity to be a thief, and he was, you know, with the group of people, but he didn't really want to steal, and so he just shifted their stuff around. You know, he was finding some way to integrate or create some like an integration and acceptance of his spiritual self and his self that is not necessarily spiritual, but has some an archetype propensity. So he was, you know, it was some type of integration, like rather than be in a place of conflict, and having, you know, that kind of disturbing energy then that disturbs other people. He was somehow finding peace, integrating these two different parts of himself. And I'm just like pondering the strangeness of it. I was doing some reading about George Harrison recently, and it really was just so kind of just so wild, because normally when I think of George Harrison, I think of him, you know, like chanting Hare Krishna and paying for Prabhupada to print Krishna book and doing the Radha Krishna temple. And I think I kind of idealized him, you know, as a devotee in those ways. And I understand though that he had, you know, other propensities as well. Like he would, like with another famous musician, he'd be like just, you know, talking about Krishna, you know, while he's snorting lines of cocaine. And I'm just thinking, you know, this is a really, really strange world, but it is the reality of what most people are facing, because very few people are born pure devotees, or like you mentioned, you know, well, here's the process, and a second one could do it. But most people are going to engage in some type of long-term process where they have to come to terms between the part of them that is a true, pure, liberated being that loves God and just wants to serve God on the spiritual platform, and being the other part of themselves that's a conditioned soul that has this physical, this body and this mind with these various you know, propensities, the karma, the samskaras, and how to integrate it as opposed to being in so much conflict about it. Because I think it's kind of not helpful on the spiritual path to have a lot of conflict about those things. And I don't know, it's just no real point. Some of what you were saying though was causing me to reflect on. It's kind of touched with what I've been reflecting on recently. It does all make me hanker just to be in a world like Krishna Loka, where there is total pure, you know, the beings are, you know, they're siddha devotees, pure devotees, and everyone is unified within themselves in relation to each other in Krishna consciousness. It really makes me hanker for that. And at the same time, I realize that it's not helpful to get too focused on the conflict between our material propensities and our spiritual truth of either ourselves or other people in this world. That's all.
Thanks for that. Like, thanks for relating to the thief story of Prabhupada. Yeah, the thief really felt the propensity to steal it. I kind of, the body wants to move there, like wants to search the bag, right? And he restricted himself by the power of the place of pilgrimage. Like, yes, and like the and you were sharing about like the integration of our demoniac part and our holy part, and like the I think that the recommended process is to is to dovetail our demoniac propensities. So even maybe George Harrison might have had like this bad habit that you described. Maybe he went like, okay, I have this bad habit. I'm not willing to like maybe give it up right now. Maybe I'm not even able to give it up right now, but at least while I'm smoking, I will be speaking about Krishna. So that's something, that's progress, right? And yeah, and it's like, yeah, if we have a chance to dovetail our demoniac propensities with the spiritual progress, and yeah, like as you probably indicated, at some point it's helpful to ask ourselves, do I really want to progress? Because maybe if I'm looking at me, maybe not. Maybe I'm like stuck in a place, and you know, that's fine. I can connect with sincerity and humility, and see what can I do about it, or what I really want.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, thank you for the whole class. Really, it's great.
Thank you for being here. Keith?
Yeah, I was feeling connected to Damayanti's sharing about the patience. Recently in the Bhagavad Gita course, we went through one of the chapters, and it said, Krishna says, I am of women, I am patience and faithfulness. So I've been thinking about that. Yeah, it can be difficult to maintain that for myself. I'm like really trying to integrate it, patience and faithfulness in myself, and even just wanting to have that for Krishna also, because it seems like things aren't progressing as fast as I would hope that they would. So anyway, yeah, I felt really connected to her sharing, and then I think that the faith, the patience, the faithfulness goes along with the patience, because then, in the way that I'm processing it, is the patience is kind of like, in the sense, dealing with what's happening for me in the present. Okay, I'll be patient. But then the faithfulness is kind of like understanding that beyond these temporary ways that I'm dealing with things, that there's the faithfulness. Because sometimes I have, for example, I wasn't going to go so much into this one, but sometimes you can have faith in a person, but they're not behaving properly. You get what I mean? I see the person, myself or other people, they're behaving off with their actions, but I have faith in them as a person. So I'm a patience of that temporary situation, but I know that in the long run, deeper, there's the patience, the faithfulness. But anyway, I was also interested in in the Vedas, the atonement was like, my understanding is it was like very specific, like you do this sin, you do this atonement, right? Like it was very specific. So I was kind of interested in learning more about that. And then also I was thinking about how that applies. It must be in the relationships that work, but I don't see it so clearly. So I'm wondering if you could just share a little bit about in the structure of the Sappho over in the relationships at work, how the atonement is in that. Like, I guess it's the pulling the weed itself is the atonement. Anyway, could you elaborate?
Thanks. Yeah, like you see that you want to connect more with patients and like you see the relationship between faith and patience, like having faith in the self and faith in Prabhupada provides us patience, because if I have strong faith that I'm a spirit soul, that I'm then I naturally have more patience with myself, because I'm not determined. I'm not valued by my previous acts or even current acts. I'm still the spirit soul, and I can commit and progress. And often, like as we discussed with Damayanti, like the lack of patience is connected with our perception of ourselves. So if I see myself that I should be somewhere else, I should be like this perfect person, then probably I will have very little patience with myself. But if I really meet myself where I'm at, and I will commit to gradually progress towards that vision, towards that goal, then I can create more patience in me. And like your question, the atonement process, like in some, let's say, communication related activities, like in Sattva, there is the process of 5 A's, right? Like if I if I break a promise or break my commitment, like there is the process of 5 A's, or as you said, like, right, pulling the weeds, the process of pulling the weeds, like that's the cure for the specific problem. At the same time, these are like meant for more. Like I cannot really progress if I'm stuck with this, like if I like do the 5A process each time I break a promise, and I don't move further to really commit myself to something, or I did not really progress towards like living in responsibility. So these are some helpful tools that can guide us, that can like provide support. Like we go from Raja and Tamas to Sattva, and these processes help to create a Sattvic platform from which we can endeavor for the transcendence. So thanks for that. Thanks all for joining in. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yogeshwar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Glory to Shri Prabhupada. Thank you. Wonderful class and discussion.